Views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the participants. The hosts make no claim to be literary experts, and their opinions are exactly that, opinions. All creative works discussed or reviewed are the intellectual property of the creators of said stories and is being used under the fair use doctrine.
Hello and welcome to Of Swords and Soulmates, a podcast where we read, watch, and discuss romantasy stories. I'm one of your hosts, Mari, and with me I have Kelly.
Hey, it's Kelly. Of course, we also have Ashley.
Hey guys, it's Ashley. We also have Jonathan.
Always looking after your six. JP, what's good?
So today we are going to be discussing Ivy and Bone by R.L. Perez. But first, as always, we're going to go over some little news and tidbits and things. One of the ones I wanted to talk about is that the app for Fabled Fantasy, which is the romantasy event that's happening in October in Orlando that we're going to be going to, their app is finally live. So you can download the app and you can start to see some of their programming and like what the hotel venue area looks like, a little map of it.
Ooh.
Did you download the app?
So basically you're downloading the app that's called the Guidebook app, and then once you download it, you put in the code, and the code is resend, and it'll take you to their particular event. So you can see what's happening, like the full schedule of what's happening each of the days. You can see where everything's going to be located in the venue, and you can see the panels and things that are happening, like when they are, what they'll be talking about, and who the panelists are. You can't like sign up for any panels or book signings or any of that kind of stuff yet. It looks like you'll be able to as of August 1st if there's anything you want to sign up for. But I was like just looking through them. It looked interesting. Like I'd say some of them are discussion based, like panels and things, and then some are for writers, like things like how to write believable meet cute, how to write a morally gray villain or morally gray main character. Seemed interesting, the programming and whatnot they have going on. Have any of you guys looked at it yet?
No. What's the passphrase for the group?
Resend, RHYSAND.
We're all actively doing this as listeners.
Oh yeah, there we are.
Have you guys ever been to an event that has like an app like for it?
No.
I mean, I've been. Yeah, I have that. Like,
I think the only one I've been to that does apps is Dragon Con in Atlanta. And their app is very large. It downloads every year and it has all their programming on it. This guidebook app for the Fabled Fantasy seemed pretty well laid out. Like they're telling you what's there. A lot of the information isn't fully on there yet. There's still a lot of like TBD. So I guess they're still working on who maybe some of their panelists are going to be. But it's still cool to see what to expect.
Behind closed doors, the exploration of sensuality and romantasy.
Mm-hmm.
What a fun time.
Yeah.
Tangled bodies, tangled plots.
I like how you get super excited right now.
I'm stoked. I love a good plan. I don't want to make the plan.
Lustful legends and mesmerizing mythology.
What's dual POV tricks of the... Oh.
Dual point of view. So that's something we've come across in some of the books we've read where the chapters flip from different characters' point of view.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Which is a tool that I see a lot. I think I mainly associate it with romance books. Like rom-com and contemporary romance do that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in fantasy, after, at least for me, in my reading history, after Game of Thrones got big, it seemed like a lot of fantasy started doing the multiple point of view since George R.R. Martin did that.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. You're right. Like a lot of the books are kind of, they flip back and forth. Even I think some of the more popular ones where they flip back and forth between the perspective and their point of view. That's pretty cool.
I think it can be done well. I think the problem that comes with it sometimes is you have to make the voices distinct enough, like that who you're reading, so you don't get confused. Because I know for me, but there were like a billion characters in Game of Thrones. But for me in Game of Thrones, some of that happened. I was like, wait, who is this person? When did we last know what they were going on? They've been put on hold for like 16 chapters. I have no idea who they are. So I had some of that with Game of Thrones.
It's easier from the audiobook perspective too, because then it goes from this, "Hi, yeah, I'm this person," and it's, "Hey, well, I'm this person now." Like it changed that. It's very definitive. What are you laughing at? Don't laugh at him.
Stop. I'm imagining you doing sock puppets with these voices. That's all I'm saying.
Do I have my camera on? How did you know? Oh my goodness.
All right. So the other news I had on here is that Fairy Loot, which is another subscription service for fancy, edition books and whatnot, they're doing a special edition of Naomi Novik's Scholomance series, which the basic Scholomance series is actually really pretty. It's 3 books. It's a lot of black and gold. But this one is going to be redesigned covers, foil on the hardcovers, digitally sprayed edges, character artwork on the end papers, and it's going to be digitally signed. It's 3 books. It's $107, and it's set to ship in September, October. But the dates when it becomes live, like if you're a Fairy Loot member, it's like July 29th, and if you're not part of the Fairy Loot elite, then it's on July 30th for whatever books are left.
How do you feel about digitally signed? Do you think that adds value?
I do not.
Okay, cool. I was like, It's
He was having very mixed feelings about that. Is
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
Like I like when they do like a little digital letter, like an author's letter in there, where it'll be like the author talking about maybe how they came up with the idea or a difficulty they had with it. I like that because I think that adds value to the story. Like maybe not monetary value, but it just adds another like perspective to the story. But as far as just like an actual digital signature, I think if anything, it confuses the issue on down the road, because I could see people trying to sell books as like, oh, this is signed by the author, look. And if you didn't know what you were looking for, you could not be getting what you thought you were getting, for like things on down the line for resale and whatnot.
Yeah, this sounds like some NFT type crap.
But a lot of things are doing digital signatures now, which I understand. I mean, it's easier on the author because I know signing your name 1 billion times is not great for anyone's wrist and hand and whatnot. But yeah, they're pretty. Did you guys read the Scholomance series or read anything by Naomi Novik before?
I don't think so.
The Scholomance series is interesting. It's 3 books. It's basically set in a world where magic exists, and when kids have magic, monsters come after them. So they're not safe out in the world. So this school exists where it's the only place for kids to learn magic, kids who are magic to learn magic, and to be safe from the monsters that go after them. But the school itself is very dangerous. The school is also trying to kill you. So it's 3 books of these kids trying to like learn magic. And I say kids, I think they're probably mid to late high school, like around that age.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Hold on. Is there like a groundskeeper in this who likes animals, and maybe there's like
No.
a bad guy without a nose and
No.
like just an elder gay man in robes?
Nope.
This whole no.
It's a whole different
Sounds
magic.
like okay, whole different. Is there like a short green alien looking magician who rules the roost,
Nope.
and then like a Samuel L. Jackson type dude with a purple wand, maybe?
No,
And-
it feels almost like a video game, the way the magic works there. Because like you have mana, but when you do spells, you use up your energy. But like
Oh,
if you've used up your energy for the day and
you're weak
monsters
then.
come after you, you just die. Like people die all the time. This is like parapet version of School of Magic. Like
All right.
lots
So-
of people die in this. And
The
the
covers
main
are very
character
pretty.
is not super like, she's not likable in a lot of ways. She kind of is a very unlikable character, and she's okay with that. So it's kind of an interesting viewpoint. It was fine. It's not my favorite Naomi Novik work, but I enjoyed them. I read them all. I would say if anyone is interested in reading any Naomi Novik, she did Uprooted, which is a standalone. Very good. Like Howl's Moving Castle style energy. And then she also did Spinning Silver, which is a really good story to read in like the winter time. It's kind of a ice fae retelling But both of those feel very like folktale, very folksy kind of retellings. And then she's got an older series that's called the Temporary series, which is the Napoleonic Wars, but there are dragons involved in the wars.
You know what?
And
I will sign up for anything that involves a dragon.
right. So the Temporary series, if you can find it, it's a good one. It's like they're giant dragons that they ride on, and they're like airplanes basically in terms of like how they use them in battle. But they do the whole bonding thing, kind of like in Fourth Wing, that those in Anne McCaffrey, it's that style of dragon where they have personalities and things. It's a fun world. But if anyone's interested in the fancy version of the Scholomance series, it now exists.
I mean, I think the Amazon ones are quite fancy.
Yeah, like the basic ones are the ones I have, and I think they're pretty. Like
They're pretty.
They're plenty fine for me.
Yeah. And they're on sale right now, guys.
Mm.
Don't give him a shout out.
Sorry.
Bezos ain't paying you. We pay Bezos. It's the other way around. Wait till that sponsorship comes floating through. Then you can shout him out. SpaceX all you want then. Is that the same
Simmer
company?
down,
It's a totally
sir.
different company. What does he call his rocket ship company?
Why are you looking at me?
Is that Blue Origin?
Yeah, there we go. Get a free ride on a rocket ship, Ashley. She does not look at. She's ignoring me. This is like the majority of our marriage.
That's because the Hunger Games are up next on our list.
That's what I was about to
Don't-
say. Like,
don't push
Ashley's
the button.
time is coming. So we have talked about the Hunger Games a little bit recently. So Barnes & Noble is doing a deluxe edition, like a re-release of the Hunger Games. And they're really pretty. It's a 4-book paperback set with sprayed edges. It's got like stenciled artwork. It's got brand new covers. It's going to be 4 of them, and it's $67.96 if you pre-order it now, and it'll be released in February of 2025, February 4th, 2025.
I think this is a
that's
bad
what it
choice.
What
This
do you
is a
mean?
bad deal because there's a new book coming out, and you know that they will not have the new book match this style.
Right.
The last book doesn't match these.
Well, if you look at the preview image,
Oh, it has the
Before-
songbird.
right, it has
Right
the
here.
song, and it's part of the set, so you get that nice, looking at the spines, you get the nice look on your shelf, but you know that the 5th book, when it comes out, is probably not going to match it, and you'll end up with that horrible effect of having one book look completely different.
Right.
Who says that the next book's going to be any good? We might not even want to acknowledge the next one.
That's a fair point.
I didn't love Songbirds and Snakes.
I've been recovering these books. I've just been recovering them in such a long.
Oh, you.
That's what I was
term
thinking. We can have Jonathan
process.
just recover it.
As pretty as these are, I feel like they should be darker.
Yes.
This is not a happy.
Story.
Yeah.
It's dystopian.
Yeah.
It's
I feel like the
what I
teal
felt-
went overboard.
Right. It's like what I felt about the 3 Dark Crowns Kandari Blake special releases. They're beautiful, but they're like white and pastel.
Yeah, we kind of
And
missed that
that's
mark.
kind of a dark story.
Right. They're beautiful. They're on sale. I don't know where they'll be because we're recording this a little bit earlier, obviously, but
Right.
it is very pretty.
It is. Like the colors caught my attention. They're pretty. So I was like, ooh, Ash needs to know about this. Hunger
Ash
Games
must
are her
know.
jam. All right. So now we're going to be moving on to our little review and talk about Ivy and Bone by R.L. Perez. We chose her book because she's going to be at the Fabled Fantasy event. And so we did the whole random number generator and came up with her name and then went with this book of the stuff she's done because she's written a good many books. This was published on September 3rd of 2022. I'm going to read the synopsis and then we'll talk about the details a little bit. Dangerous deal with the devil gives one witch more than she bargained for. Prue is an earth witch, blessed with power from the triple goddess. Still mourning the loss of her twin sister, Prue summons the devil himself from the underworld, intent on bringing her sister back from the dead. But when she meets him, a handsome man named Cyrus, he is more deadly and alluring than she anticipated. Prue tricks him into binding his blood with hers, granting her access to his powers over the dead. But the bond also unlocks the gates to the underworld, unleashing the spirits within. Now Cyrus is bound to her in more ways than one. Desperate to close the gates and save the mortal realm from unholy destruction, Prue and Cyrus must work together to undo their bargain. But against her better judgment, Prue is enthralled by his seductive nature, and she finds herself falling for the devil himself.
Dun, dun, dun.
So what did you guys think?
Ash, you want to go first?
I can go first. I liked the book. It was a good book.
Non-spoilery. Don't spoil it. Don't
I know. I
spoil
was
it.
digging deep for the non-spoiler.
Put that meat bat in the fridge.
There was a lot of potential in this book. Not a 5-star for me, but I would be curious to read at least one more to see where it's going. Like it definitely caught interest.
So what would you say is an overall rating for you?
3. It was a 3.
Okay.
I gave
Kelly,
it a 4.
what did you think?
Oh, no, Kelly, go first.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Just diving right in there. Face first. I gave it a face first 4. What'd you think, Kelly?
I gave it a 3. I think there was some interesting stuff, but then there was some stuff that just didn't work for me. Mari?
Yeah, for me, it was a 3 too. It was a little disjointed feeling. And I will say this is the first one of the books we've reviewed that I listened to completely. So I did the Jonathan method and did an audio of this. I didn't physically read it. I read it with my ears. So that may have something to do with me having trouble getting into it. But yeah, to me, it felt a little whiplashy on some of the emotions and what some of the characters did. It is labeled a Hades and Persephone retelling, so I knew what I was getting into. It's very popular these past few years to do Hades and Persephone retellings, so I kind of had an idea of where it was going. So I would say just kind of middle of the road 3 for me.
I don't think it was just the audiobook that felt whiplashy or a little disjointed. I felt that way reading it.
Okay.
I felt that the transitions between points of view between the characters was kind of rough. It wasn't a very smooth transition from her point of view to his point of view and so forth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I definitely, the term, it hadn't dawned on me about whiplash. But yeah, I could see that. I didn't get that from the different POVs, but I definitely got it from how the pendulum swung certain points in the story, just overall.
Is that a euphemism for penis?
No, but we'll get into that.
Jonathan was very concerned about the abrupt penis talk.
In the book?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was...
5 minutes in, he said, and then
Yeah, it was
whoosh,
early
it was
in.
there in your face.
I listened to the first part of the audiobook with Mari while we were on a road trip, and when he appeared in it, and she was like describing him. I looked at Mari and I said, she's going to go right to describing his dick, and that's exactly what happened.
Do you remember?
I think I even called the right adjective.
It was definitely one of those things where where were we? Were we at Universal when I was like, hey, yeah. Like, we need a term for how, like, a way to gauge spice based on how rapidly things are deployed.
All right, so do we want to move on? Kelly, read the little spoiler thing so we can go into a little bit more detail?
Sure. So from this point forward in the podcast, we will be discussing spoilers. So if you have not read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, then you probably should stop the episode and finish reading it and come back later. Or if you don't care about spoilers, continue on.
Chapter 6.
Getting ready
Rock
for
out with your
Halloween?
cock out.
I don't even think it was chapter 6.
I don't know.
I feel like it was like chapter 3.
I've been waiting for 2 weeks to talk about this guy's dick.
Tell us all about
Wow.
I don't know. You know what I think about when I see this character
it.
visually?
His dick?
That. I think, yeah.
Obviously.
Clearly, Ashley. That's exactly what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, do you remember like the first X-Men on like VHS with blue guy who like, and then like into the next room, but then like, and he's got this like fork tail thing and he's got these like tattoos.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah. Right. Except like pale, like, what was that guy, the albino movie? Was it
Powder.
Yeah. So like cross those, take like a powder and then take, would you say Nightcrawler? Smash them together just like that. And then albino tatted up cock.
Was his penis tatted?
I don't know.
Okay, that
They
was
said the whole, well, they said what, half? It went like half his body?
like
so.
half his entire body. So I just
Maybe.
kind of assumed.
Yeah, half.
I mean, why not? He's the
Can we
king of
ask
hell.
her? Now I need to know.
Be like,
Can
These
you
are
Hey.
important questions
Call her
that need to be solved.
call her up? Tell her we're gonna need some visuals here.
No, I just need to know that one part.
And then
The
there's
American people demand answers.
so we're gonna go up to her booth.
We need
in October and be like,
closure.
listen, we got a question.
Let's get a microphone and the recording device, and we can just do a segment of this is what the readers want to know.
Inquiring minds. You know what the personality though of him, of Cyrus, reminded me of is the Cruel Prince, the main dude from Cruel Prince. I've completely blanked out on his name. Judas the Chickie. Oh my God, Ash, you read Cruel Prince, right? Or did you just read the?
Oh,
the two
No, I
chapters?
did.
she got a little snooty look on her face.
Because
right
now I can't remember his name. Does
I
it start
can't-
with a
is it
C?
Cassian? No, I want to say it starts with a C.
Carden?
Oh my God, Carden. There we go.
Cardin or
Carden.
Cardan?
Carden.
Yeah, ooh, okay.
Like, it reminds me of that personality in that he's got this whole like entitled brat thing. Like he was like, "Yes, I'm God of the underworld. Have I told you that I'm God of the underworld? Did you know that I'm God of the underworld?"
Did you know
It
I'm
was-
all powerful?
Yes.
Apparently, being God of the underworld is like being a pilot. You must tell everyone that you're a pilot. So you must tell everyone you're a God of the underworld.
Oh,
Well, I think he had a complex a little bit, right?
I don't know. I didn't get that vibe. I didn't get a complex
absolutely, he
you
did.
did get a complex
Oh, he
vibe?
totally
No.
had a complex.
He was like not the oldest brother, and yet he was in charge of the underworld.
vibe. He was the
Yes,
most powerful.
he absolutely
Well,
had a
be-
complex.
He
Look.
made himself the most powerful.
He was the most powerful of them.
He was addicted to power. I put that he's an addict and that they all need therapy. I literally wrote that.
Therapy
that
would
in
be
my
good.
notes.
There was
Yes.
some jealousy. There's some longing for familial bonds that popped up when he was like,
He had
you know,
some big daddy issues. Yeah.
Complex.
these witches are
Wow.
these witches are powerful, but they work together, kind of thing. And he was like, I wish I had that kind of family.
Why
He
does
had
every
issues.
romantasy book have a character with daddy issues? Why is that
Well,
always
because if they
happening?
didn't have issues, Kelly, there wouldn't be much of a story. At least one has to have major issues.
Yeah. I think you're required to either have parent issues or the parent has to be dead. Like if Disney movies have taught us nothing, you either have to have an evil step parent or your parents have to be dead for a story to happen.
Truth.
Yeah, I mean that's a classic because it's always a trope in literature because if you introduce a character who's an orphan, you immediately have sympathy for them.
Yeah.
That's why
Baked-in
the
drama.
orphan. That's why the orphan trope is so often used.
Yeah. So I will say I think I would have DNF'd this book if I was reading it on my own if it wasn't for this. And I'm glad I finished it because it was a better book. I think if I had DNF'd, I would have missed out on it. It's a better book than I thought it was going to be. And I went ahead and read the sequel, and I like the sequel much better.
You read the
Than this
sequel
book.
already?
I did. Yeah.
Overachiever.
So the sequel is told from her sister's viewpoint. It's
Yeah.
Mona's viewpoint. And I liked Mona exponentially better. And this is where it's like a lot of these reviews are like, hey, they're literally just our opinions. Because I think I like the second book better because I like Mona better. Not because it was necessarily written drastically different than the first book.
I was
I
just
just- I
going to
think
ask,
I-
is this the
yeah.
instance of The Stolen Throne where the first book was a little rough and then Kelly really liked the second book because it had better editing?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, I mean, maybe she warmed up a little bit. And maybe because you knew a little bit more about what was going on in the world by the second book.
Mm.
But I definitely liked the Mona character a lot more. I thought Mona was somebody that I was rooting for. To me, Prue reminded me of, I don't know what to call this trope, but it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Sabrina from the rebooted show on Netflix. It's this young magical female character, bratty character, who is told not to do something, knows not to do something, knows there are consequences for doing this thing, does it anyways, and then everybody's gotta work together to save the world again. To me, it just felt like Prue was very not smart in her choices and very like not aware of the world.
You know, there was a point that it's the only thing I highlighted in the book, and it's when Prue had turned to her mother at the beginning of the story where the town was being attacked now for the second time. She had already summoned Cyrus, the devil, right? This king, prince of hell person. And so after they contain the spirits and they save the town for the time being, she basically, turns to her mother after her mother's reprimanding her for all the things that you just said. She turns to her mother and she says, "It should have been me, and you know it." Meaning that it should have been her that died instead of Mona. And her mother never corrects her, right? Like, she doesn't smooth it over. She doesn't try to pacify the situation. And I highlighted that because I thought to myself, man, those of us who are siblings, there's been a time in our lives where we thought, I'm not the favorite child. Right? Like, I'm not the golden child. And to have had that situation where she turned to the only parent that she's ever known, the only blood relation parent that she's ever known, and said, "It shouldn't have been my sister that died. It should have been me, and you know it." And to not be corrected in any way, shape, or form has got to be devastating.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be devastating because when I was reading that part, I immediately thought of the movie Stand By Me. And there's that scene where the main character, who's played by Will Wheaton, I can't remember his name, was it Gordy? Anyway, he's like getting his stuff. He has to go and get some stuff or whatever. And it's like, he like flashes back and remembers his dad looking at him because, his brother died or whatever. And his dad looking at him and saying, "It should have been you."
Ugh.
And like, that's like a moment where you get like just a surge of incredible sympathy for that character. Because you're right, actually, if you have siblings, you grew up with siblings, you never believed your parents saying, "I love you all the same." So you always felt like one of the siblings was the favored one. So to be told and shown that you're not the favored one or you're less than one of your other siblings is definitely devastating.
Yeah.
Or that you should have died instead of the other one.
Right.
Like, you cannot be the favorite and they still want you alive. You know what I mean? So when we talk about complexes, when we talk about bad decisions or, that she should have been smarter. No, man, she was as broken as Cyrus, if not more than. The only person who had ever unequivocally loved her was dead. And there was an overwhelming knowledge amongst her immediate family in town that it shouldn't have been her sister that died. It should have been her.
Right. And see, that's why I disagree with you, Mari, when you say this problem was of her own making, because I think that her mom acting like this and the whole idea that it should have been you and Mona should have lived is what drove her to make the decision to do everything to bring Mona back and her die in an exchange.
And like set that determination though, right? Because you can make a decision and be like, "Oh shit, I screwed up." I don't think she ever had that point in her head. She was just like, "Nope, I've got to see this through. It shouldn't have been her. It should have been me."
Right. So I think that whole idea of it should have been me was ground into her by everyone around her in her community and by her mom. She was psychologically abused and emotionally abused into that situation and making that decision. It wasn't her fault.
Why did Mona die?
So
Mona didn't die.
Well,
Yeah, I
spoiler.
mean,
I know
Yeah.
we're there.
Yeah. But originally, why did Mona die?
Originally, Mona died because they needed a blood sacrifice after, and I could be confusing the title. Is it the Book of the Eyes? Something like that. So this grimoire had been opened for whatever reason, and I don't think they go into very specific detail onto that, except that maybe someone was called to it. But I think the sisters, right, both went into the book to find a way to stop a prophecy that involved the killing of one of the twins. So one of the twins was supposed to die the entire time.
Yeah.
So they both opened the book looking for a different avenue. Opening the book is what opened the portal to the underworld, and the town was attacked, and it required a blood sacrifice to stop that first attack.
Right.
And Mona sacrificed herself, or she was to sacrifice.
Right. Yeah. So, this goes into the whole like mythology fantasy element. It's all prophesized. So like one of them was going to die because it's in the prophecy in this world. But basically Mona died because they decided to open this book that they weren't supposed to be opening. So as a result of them doing this thing that everyone told them not to do, one of them had to die.
Did they know they weren't supposed to open it?
I mean,
I thought they looked at it just as another grimoire. Like, I don't think they knew how bad it was or how...
That was my impression, too, that it wasn't like, you must not read from the Book of the Dead type scenario. It was I think this book, this book in the forbidden section of the library has some answers.
I got the impression that it was hidden away. They weren't supposed to be. It was in the forbidden section. Like, they weren't supposed to be doing it. A book that screams when you open it, not a great thing.
It should be a turnoff. Should be a red flag.
But I mean, if you're a witch and you're used to dealing with stuff like that, yeah, I mean, you have this prophecy hanging over your head between you and your sister, and that one of you's going to die, and you don't know which one it's going to be.
And not even sister. We're talking twins, right? So
right.
Yeah.
So
that's as close as it gets.
And it feels pretty obvious that they were so close because maybe, mom was a little bit absent or whatever. So I don't know. I can see them being desperate enough to do things and go into forbidden sections of the library, so to speak, in order to try and find answers. Because that's the whole point of in any fiction that we read where there's the prophecy or whatever, there's always going to be people who try to go against the prophecy, fight against the prophecy, whatever, to defy it.
What do you think, Jonathan? We need a tiebreaker.
I don't think it was her fault at all. I think they knew what they were doing.
You're on Mari's side? This is interesting, Kelly.
I think that I think she missed her sister, and then she kicked this whole thing off because she was trying to go and rescue her sister. There was the love that was there. I think it was a pleasant surprise to discover that she was kind of trapped between two spaces.
Right.
She definitely had some trouble owning sister's magic.
It wasn't her magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The power of the maiden. Yeah.
If she had passed, she would have inherited that power.
Yeah, but the power that she had throughout this book was her own power.
I also think that mom did what she did to protect Prue.
Shut the front door.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely not.
You don't think that, you don't think when she was like, hey.
Have you been
Cyrus,
listening?
his
Yeah,
name is
because she
Cyrus.
needed Prue to go get Mona.
No.
Right.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
At that point, once you're
Prue was
committed,
a
you're
pawn.
committed. No, I don't think she was a pawn.
You're kidding me.
I
Did you
think-
not hear the first 10 minutes before I was said, what do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, I don't think Prue was a pawn. I think Prue was vulnerable. She acted, she followed her heart, and it led her to a point of happily of no return. Like, there's no going, once she fucked that spell up, there was no going back.
Yeah, but the mom wasn't siding with Prue.
No, the mom was pissed off.
She wasn't
Mom was like, why
protecting
don't you
Prue.
why don't you just shut up and leave well enough alone? Kind of thing. Now I have to make sure my daughter's safe through this. I mean, there are some lies that were discovered along the way. But
Mari, do we find out who the dad is in book 2?
No.
I
Like,
see
I think
the
there were some
potential
hints.
in the story. Like, when you guys were calling it some whiplash and stuff. I think
Mhm.
there's more to the story that
Yes.
it just wasn't as clean in the first book and kind of alluding to. So I don't think it was my favorite book of the year, but I'm interested enough to read the second one.
Yeah.
We haven't
I
done
thought
any
the second one was
scoring.
good. Yeah, I like the second one. All right, so fantasy. What do we think about fantasy elements in this book?
Don't everyone talk at
I was
once.
just saying,
Okay.
don't just fight.
Jonathan.
Everybody fight.
Jonathan, go.
Oh, fantasy? Let's see. I thought the fantasy was pretty good in this book. I'm going to give it a 4. I think, although the stuff is kind of, it felt maybe like a used fantasy, if that makes sense. Fast forward to the banging. You got to bang the magic on a little bit faster for me.
What we're learning, listeners, is that Jonathan does not like a slow burn.
Apparently, yeah.
Not at all. Get hot under the collar. If you're gonna have the unveiling of Tatcock in chapter 6, and then you're gonna wait till chapter 25 to have the banging, but you're gonna tease me with a little bean bopper in between in a dank cave. That's not cool.
The tat cock wasn't enough for you?
No. Although, I'm not going to lie. I like to think of some dude jogging through the neighborhood with it bouncing off of his quad a little bit. Little slapper, little knee slapper there, you know? Because that had to happen. She was like, follow me home. Okay. Some giant man with horns tatted up and like a donger just flapping as he walks home. And then mom's there just like, ugh.
Kelly, you can't edit any of this out. It's pure bullshit.
Oh, no. We're not editing any of this out.
Not this part, anyway.
I think we may have inadvertently introduced a new fantasy romantasy rule here, like Chekhov's gun in literature, where, you know, in plays where if somebody has a gun or mentions a gun in the first part of the first act of a play, that means somebody is going to get shot later with it. So do we have a Chekhov's cock here? If a cock is seen or described early enough in the book, that means that eventually there will be a banging with it.
It has to be used, by the end of the book. Absolutely.
I think it was like pretty apparent, like early on when she was like, I hate this man. Look at that cock. Like that was gonna, and then the next chapter from his perspective was like, this witch, she's trapped me. Look at that bosom. Like one sentence.
Right,
that's like the
slow
whiplash.
your roll there, Jonathan. We're on fantasy, not romance or spice.
Oh, sorry. Fantasy.
Pause.
Fantasy.
Put a pin in it.
Putting a pin in it.
Okay, so fantasy for me, I literally wrote smash magic. I was like, oh, now I know what Jonathan means when he says smash magic. And to be fair, I think that may have been because like it was labeled a Hades and Persephone romance. And I have been, starting with probably last year, I've been hardcore reading a lot of Hades and Persephone stories. I did not have a Greek myth period growing up where I got into those myths, but I definitely got into Lore Olympus last year, the graphic novels, and then Neon Gods, Katie Roberts, and some other just Hades and Persephone retellings. The old, like the traditional Hades and Persephone story is that Hades abducts and or rapes Persephone. The modern retellings that we all have is very much more of a romance situation. I mean, if anything, she abducted him. She summoned him in this version. I thought that the like Greek myth stuff smashed together with like the witch stuff was too smash magic-y for me. So for me, fantasy was a 3. It was fine. It wasn't like super great, but it was fine. Ash?
It was a 3.5. Like, I say this, I think this is the third or fourth time I've said the word. Like, I saw the potential. There was a lot of, like, I felt like cross-pollination. So, like, you had Osiris / Cyrus, right? That's not Greek. And then you had witches. I don't even think witches are really Greek. But there could be a section of mythology that I'm missing there. Then you had, Earth Mother Gaia. Is that Greek?
No. I
No,
don't think
right?
Gaia's Greek.
And so
Yeah, and like
there was smash magic in that a lot of different magical tropes were kind of thrown together. And so again, I was interested because, there's an author that I read, and one of the lines that they use in the series is that all the stories are true. Right? So meaning that all of the mythology comes from something that is true. So I don't mind the mashup, but it was a little confusing. It wasn't quite as clean, but it was interesting. It was interesting magic. They had magic that depleted, right? It wasn't never-ending Hogwarts magic. She had earth magic. He had death magic. Kill them all. What do I care? And Princes of Hell. Right? That's not, I don't know that that's specifically any type of mythology. I think that's
Christian, I guess, mythology.
Yeah, I was going to say regular.
Because like in
Gaia
Greek,
is Greek.
You didn't even have hell. You had the underworld. Like Hades
Gaia
is
is
not
Greek?
the devil.
Are you looking it up?
Yeah.
But is she
Gaia's
Greek
Greek?
mythology?
Yeah, Greek
Gaia's
mythology.
Greek mythology. She's
Oh.
The mother of
the mother
the
goddess,
mother,
and her
yeah.
union with the god of heaven is where all the other gods and stuff came from.
Yeah.
Is that where like the Titans came from?
Yes. So
So they're like the
offspring.
proto. Yeah, they're like the
so, yeah,
grandparents
it's
of
further
like
back.
Zeus and whatnot.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I had some issues with the fantasy stuff just because of my own personal dislike of constant use of the same tropes over and over again. So, the use of the triple goddess, geez, it seems like almost every story, if there's a witch, there's the triple goddess. There's the crone, the mother, the maiden, bringing that again.
Like a holy trinity?
The magic was interesting. I think I agree with Ashley. It was interesting that some of their powers could become exhausted, but I don't know. It just didn't seem consistent. Like sometimes she could use his power, sometimes she couldn't. There was a lot of little inconsistencies in that. I did like near when they had one of the battles, how she used the ability to manipulate plants and vines and stuff, how she had them like poisonous plants come up and
Shove
touch
them
their
down their
skin
throat.
and
Yeah.
then shoved, the vine shoved down their throat. And I was like, okay, it was an interesting use of the magic as far as like using plant magic offensively.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting. That was like
Choke
a nice,
on the hemlock.
yeah, that was a nice, interesting change as far as like using magic offensively instead of, blast them with magic or whatever.
That
Yeah,
was
like
it's Groot's entire shtick.
what about the romance?
Jonathan,
Ooh.
what do you think
Unpin
about
it.
the
Go for
romance,
it.
And
Jonathan?
I think I've been very clear. It
Oh, you
started
gotta rate it.
it started hot, fizzled a little bit, popped again like a sparkler, and then like went out and then banging unleashed. I think she just like she tried to reverse bang him. Like, hey, we got to do this. Get on it now. Boom. And then he was like, no. And then they were like, on second thought, yeah. This is a tough one. Am I rating it off a tactic and if I take
No, that's spice. That's going to be a whole other thing. Romance. What do you think about the
romance.
hearts?
I think I'm going to give I'm going to breathe 3. I'm going to do a 3 because I feel like it was implied. It was going to happen. Ooh, look at his dick. Ooh, look at her bosom. And you knew it was going to happen. Like it was a dead giveaway from the moment you cracked the binding. Boom. Kelly, what'd you think? Where you at with the romance?
I would have to say I think the romance was a 3. I think there was some good romance and build up into the romance where you could start to see the romance actually form instead of this being a what do you mean we're married type scenario. Overall, I thought it was okay. I guess maybe better than average. Certainly not the worst we've read, but it felt like a lot of stuttering into the romance instead of it being kind of a smooth build up into it. What about you, Ashley?
I thought it was a 3. The whole forced marriage thing isn't a new trope. And there's that you have to go on a journey to learn about the other partner, right? Especially when you're talking about like God marriage, because can't really undo that. I think the part that made it a 3 for me was how like when they decided they were all in, right? Like when they realized that they were on the same page and that this is what they wanted to do, it was you are mine and I am yours. And it grounded them.
Yeah.
So that was good romance for me. Solid 3.
Yeah, for me, the romance was a 4. For me, the romance was the strongest element in this book. I feel like they went on a journey, they got to know each other, and then once the slow burn happened and they were actually in it for each other, they were each other's ride or die. I think that Prue, having lost Mona and, having lost the idea of what she had as a mother, was needing an anchor, was needing someone in her corner. And Cyrus, the same thing. Like Cyrus's whole journey is he's been in search of this power, but he's also like he's got the power and he's lonely. He's got these siblings that he can't trust for the most part, other than Evander. And they were good together. I enjoyed the romance. I thought they fit well together, and I thought that they were very believable. So yeah, 4 for romance for me. All right, Jonathan, here's your time. Spice.
How many fire sticks?
Fire sticks? Is that what this is? Fire sticks?
Or flames?
Tamales?
Is that what it is? Oh, tamales.
How many tactics am I giving this? Right?
If they made a coloring book.
Is that what you would color? Would there be like, would you just rub the pencil right through?
There are expletive coloring books. And so if they came out
adult
with
coloring
one
books.
that was a penis that was half tatted,
If there was Nightcrawler, Powder, Tat Dick, you're in there. He's a tall dude in this story too. Did we talk? Does he have hair? What kind of hair does this dude have? Does
White
all
hair,
factor
silver
in?
hair,
Silver hair.
black streak.
Is he tan? Because I don't see him as tan, but is he tan?
I don't
what?
think he's tan. I think she's darker than he is.
Okay. Is she olive skinned?
He said brown.
Brown? Okay. All right.
I think she's like in all the artwork and fan artwork and stuff I've seen from the author's website, she's definitely like a person of color.
What is
Or
his?
very Mediterranean.
Do we have images of him?
Yes.
Oh, I need to see an image.
He's got like long silver hair with a strip of black in it. He's got the half tattoos. He's got the horns, silver eyes. And then she was described as wild hair, full lips, dark skin, lavender eyes.
Lavender eyes. That's an interesting.
It's very rare.
Oh yeah, there is an image there. Yep, it's definitely.
Does that change your spice level for you?
I mean, he looks like a goober in this image, but it looks like it looks like AI made this image and was just like, we need some horns. Throw on some extra horns. But like overall, it throws off Nightcrawler Powder vibes to me. It's the only image I see of him, though. All right.
I mean, there's not a lot of sun in the underworld.
But there's fire. You think he'd be a little toasty. You know what I'm talking about?
Kelly, is there UV and fire?
No, there's no UV and fire.
Well, you just said that because I was like, there's no sunlight. And
But have you ever stuck something in the oven too long? Or okay, marshmallow. Think about marshmallow in a campfire.
I don't think that's how it works with skin.
It gets real fucking good when it's toasty, baby. I think it could work like that. Have you ever?
No.
Anyway, let's get back to the spice.
Yes, please.
This picture of him here, Bride of the Shadow King. Wait, that's a whole different story. Never mind.
Focusing.
They turn on the spice and then they turn it off. And they should have ramped it up. If you're going to roller coaster me a little bit faster. Don't leave 12 chapters in between a little finger bang.
Does that mean ride you?
Huh? What are you talking about?
You said roller coaster.
Yeah, take me up high and then drop me off a cliff and then put me on a tilt-a-whirl for, 12 chapters and then bop a bean and then you're good for another 6 chapters. That's not cool. Take me all the way up. Bring me down. Take me back up.
What's your spice level, bro?
I'm gonna give it.
You're stalling so hard.
I'm gonna give it because I'm struggling here. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 because
Kelly's up.
Kelly, what do you think?
So I think would say the spice was a 3. It was there. It happened. It was a banging.
It was there. It happened.
The only thing I thought that was interesting was, and I feel like this is part of the spice and not the romance, is that Cyrus is definitely a bottom. He is definitely wanting to be submissive to her because that was kind of painted out several times. There was one part where she told him, I have the bookmark at 50%, so I don't know what page number that is, but she said, "Of course you aren't. I own you, remember?" And it says, ordinarily her words would have ignited his anger, but for some reason they sent a thrill shooting up his bones. So yeah, if he's not wanting to be a sub, then I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong or anything. I just think that was it was an interesting part of the spice there.
Yeah, I dig it. I'm picking up what you're putting down, smelling what you're stepping in.
All right, Ashley, what did you think?
I thought it was a 2.
A 2?
Interesting.
A 2.
Even with Tatcock?
I mean, it's unconfirmed. That might spice it up for me if we confirm that there are actual tattoos on the penis. Do you think it would also be on the balls?
No.
I mean, if it's half his body, if it's straight down the middle.
If it's half the body, you can't do the penis and not.
It's on the front.
The
it's on the tip, Ashley. It's not on the. No.
Is it on the tip?
It's on the tip.
So many questions.
Why would you tattoo balls?
Oh my God.
Why would you tattoo a penis?
You haven't seen as many. I mean, like I haven't seen a ton of them, but I've seen my own.
You've seen your own fair share of tatted penises?
No, I'm just saying, like it's you. Like
just have questions.
You go. It's like
they had sex. Like they had sex twice. They went to third base. It wasn't very spicy. And there was far more romance than there was spice for me.
What's third base?
You should look that up.
I agree with Ash. I had it as a 2 as well for spice. For me, it may have been because I had a hard time connecting to the Prue character. I just didn't feel the spice from them. Definitely felt more romance than spice. I think part of it too was I had a hard time getting a handle on the power dynamics. So like, I believe he couldn't lie to her, but I wasn't sure if she could control him or not because she, did the whole blood bonding spell thing. So then I'm like, there's some consent issues with that. It gets a little cloudy, it gets a little nebulous. So I don't know. Like I said, the spice for this particular one didn't hit anywhere near as well. The second book in this series,
Better spice.
markedly better spice quality for me, for my tastes. All right, anything else before we move on to the cover? All right, so the cover is done by Blue Raven Book Covers, is the name of the company. There really is only one cover, the standard one, which is a blue background with a skull, like a white bone cream skull, and then it's got some roses and ivy around it. There is a special edition of this book that was done as a Kickstarter by the author. And it's really pretty. It's black and gold and gilded and everything. And there's actually some still available if anyone's interested in getting the special edition version of this series. But there are 4 books in this series. The 4th one is coming out, I believe, this year in November. So I believe that the Kickstarter is just for the first 3. So you're going to get into that whole Hunger Games situation that we just talked about, where if you get them from that special edition, the first 3 are going to look completely different than the 4th one. Oh, I lied. The 4th one comes out February 2025. So what did we think about the cover? How well it reflected the book? Whether or not it would make you pick it up?
Yeah, I think it's an accurate representation. It's got ivy and bone on the cover. I think that fits. It's simple enough. I would pick this book up if it was part of a set, but not solo. If this was just the one book, I'm not picking it up. But if it was a set in the same style, I would probably take. I like sets like that.
Okay. So what are you rating it? How many paintbrushes?
As part of a set, I'm going to give it a 3.5 paintbrush. Solo, I'm going to give it a 2. Kelly, you're up.
I think the cover was nice. It was nice and simple. I think it fairly well represented some of what was in the book. Had they done anything more, it could have given anything away about the plot of the book. But there is, like I've said before, there's elegance and simplicity. So I don't think the cover wasn't anything that was, oh my God, it's amazing. And it wasn't anything that it was, oh, this is a terrible cover as far as representing, and drawing you in. So I would say it's a 3. Ashley?
I'd say it's a 3.5. It's a very nice cover. I thought it well represented the book. I appreciated how the title was within the book, like used in the story. I don't know that it would have made me pick it up and buy it, which is why I'm rating it so averagely. But it was a nice cover. It was a decent cover. Mari?
For me, it's a 3. Yeah, basically, it's got a skull on it, so I would look at it because I'm me. So I would pick it up. Like it is indicative of what's in the book because you have the rose magic and the ivy magic and the death magic with the skull. The only thing I would have changed at it would have been like putting some sort of like a pomegranate or some pomegranate seeds or something for the whole Hades and Persephone mythology because that's very indicative of that. But yeah, I would say it's fine, middle of the line. So I'd say it's a 3, middle of the road. Do we think it's a kissing book?
Is it a kissing book? Yes, it is. I don't think the story could advance if there wasn't the bangening, it doesn't happen because otherwise his brother is going to murk Mona and get the best out of Mona. And then he just rules it. So yeah, I think the bangening is, it was protective. It was unprotected sex, but it was protective sex.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Wow.
That was good. That was actually very aware of you.
Yeah.
That was more than I thought it was going to be.
Ash was very surprised.
Dare I say?
I didn't think you paid that much attention. I'm sorry.
Dare I say hats off.
romance. You know, I was going to say it was not a kissing book. I think a lot of the story progressed without the romance forced or chosen. But I think anytime you come into a story that early on displays or discusses a prophecy, then these things are, you know, for lack of funnier or better language, is just meant to be. Like these two were probably very much meant to find each other. I don't know that we're going to get a happily ever after out of it, but yeah, I think it's a kissing book.
I thought you just said it wasn't a kissing book.
I said at the beginning.
Oh, all right. Welcome
Guess
aboard.
you stopped paying attention.
Welcome aboard.
Gosh.
Kelly?
So I think it is a kissing book. It took a while to get there. I agree with Ashley on that. Because the romance and them together is what basically thwarted or is going to maybe potentially thwart Gaia. But also because I think the romantic bond between Mona and Prue.
Well, we are in agreement then, because I also agree that it's a kissing book. Yeah, I believe that that familial love between the sisters, they truly loved each other, 100%. And that gets even more developed in the second book. And I mean, I rated the romance element the highest in this book. So I mean, I definitely believe the romance was there. I think that if they hadn't fallen in love and worked together on both of their goals, they would have failed on all counts. Like, Cyrus would have lost control of the underworld if she hadn't been helping, and she would not have been able to get to Mona if he hadn't been helping. Like, the story wouldn't have been the story it is if they hadn't fallen in love and been there for each other.
Look at us.
I know. All right. For rapid fire, we went with Avatar. So.
Not the Airbender.
Yeah, let's make it clear we're talking about the James Cameron movie Avatar.
Yeah, the blue people.
Blue kitty cats.
Dances with Wolves in Space.
All right. Kelly, what do you think?
No, it's 100% hot garbage.
Such blasphemy.
It's a horrible movie.
It's not.
It is a terrible movie. It is literally Dances with Wolves in Space. For God's sakes, they're looking for unobtainium, which was a term that was always used in science fiction writing as, oh, I don't know what to call this, thing that's essential to the plot, so I'm just going to call it, unobtainium. It was just so bad. It was such a bad movie. I can't believe they're making so many sequels of it. The only thing good about that movie was, I guess, the impressiveness of the use of 3D at the time.
All right. All right, so another strong opinion then would be Ash, since you were a guest. What do you think?
This is absolutely a kissing book. Absolutely. It all would have gone to hell halfway through if this had not been a kissing book. And so it's not a book. Like, obviously, it's a movie. If it were a book, I would read it because it would probably be better. However, there is magic. There is sci-fi. We're in a whole, not only are we in space, we're in a whole different planet. Not even a planet, we're on a moon of a planet. Okay? And we are with an entirely different species.
It's a moon? It's not just a planet?
Pandora's a moon. I just taught him something, guys. And so
Oh
we're not even dealing with like a comparable human species. This is an entirely different species of entity that has a religion, that has a hierarchy, that has magic, that has way more common sense than the human race, let's be honest. And if the two main characters hadn't come together as deeply as they did, the entire race would have been obliterated. What's his name would have died and not come back. Like, there was no coming back from that if he had died. I thought it was a beautiful story. Maybe not the best story. I mean, we're not talking like 1997 Titanic. But
that was a shitty story.
You shut up. What is wrong with you men?
It's about a boat that sinks.
Don't get me started on Titanic.
No, separate rapid fire. This is that's definitely a kissing book. It is a romantasy. It is all the fantasy and all the romance for all the right reasons. Avatar, not The Last Airbender.
Jonathan, what do you think?
the Blue Cat people, that was I'm going to say, yeah, I think it was it was a kissing book, although I have some reservations here. I agree with Kelly. It was a shitty story. It was just dumb. I hate that movie. The best thing that came out of that movie, the ride at Disney at Animal Kingdom. That is an awesome ride. But the story sucks. I think that I'm also kind of mildly upset because I have a hard time seeing Blue Cat Lady with anyone other than Star-Lord. That pisses me off.
I can't with you right now, Mari. It's Mari's turn.
Okay, so to be honest, I've only ever seen this movie once. I saw it in the movie theaters when it came out with my family because that's what we did. We went to the movie theaters. And I remember being blown away by the 3D. I thought it was a beautiful looking movie. And I will still say that it is a beautiful looking movie. I have a hard time feeling the romance in this movie. I don't like it. I'm sorry. It's not my favorite story either. It feels very colonialist. And so you have this, once again, consent and imbalance of power, like Pocahontas kind of story thing going on, where if you have a colonizing, conquering force, is it really love? Or is it just, what are you going to do? You don't really have autonomy and choice in this situation. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the story. I don't remember feeling like it was a love story. I don't remember feeling like there was a beautiful love story in it. But like I said, full disclosure, I've only seen it once. And it was literally, like, I think it came out Christmas weekend or something.
Yeah.
I watched it like that weekend.
You should definitely watch it again. I think
you don't have to watch it again.
You do have to watch it again. I do think it's a great love story. And so, like, I can get where, like, the colonizer part of it could very much distract from the meaning behind it. But he adapts. He goes all in. And yeah, initially it's, to prove himself and because he's a soldier and, there are other ulterior motives. But I do think that he falls just head over heels in love with her, whether or not it's reciprocated. Oh, yes. And only because it reciprocates at the end
Ashley.
Wrap
it up.
I'm so sad for all of you.
You could be sad for me. I don't give a
so
shit.
Sad.
So for now, for me, pending a rewatch, I would say no. But I'm willing to rewatch it. So I'll let you know, Ash.
When you do, circle back. I need closure.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about before we wrap it up?
I'm good. I'm solid.
I feel like we covered a lot this time.
We really did, yeah. All right, so thanks for listening to Of Swords and Soulmates. Before we go, make sure to check out the show notes, rate and review us on your podcast app of choice, and follow us on Instagram at Of Swords and Soulmates. We're also on Blue Sky, Threads, same username, or join us on our Facebook page of Swords and Soulmates, or on our website of swordsandsoulmates.com, and also on YouTube, same username. If you'd like to offer a suggestion for a future rapid-fire question, reach out to us on any of these options. Also, we've been reading books leading up to Fabled Fantasy that are going to be the authors that are there, but we're coming up pretty soon where we're going to be free-for-all, open to reading anything that could potentially be romantasy. So we'll be looking to get some input from you guys at that point, and that's how you would reach out to us. If you'd like to read along with us as we prep for new episodes, follow us on Goodreads at Of Swords and Soulmates. We hope you'll join us in 2 weeks for our next episode when we review The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.